Good day. My name is Mpine Makoe from South Africa, from the University of South Africa, where I'm a Commonwealth of Learning Chair in Open Resources and Open Education Practices. Today, I'm going to discuss with you the issues of flexibility in relation to open and distance universities in Africa. The reason that I'm choosing open universities, there are quite a few, but many of them are privately owned. And I'm specifically looking at public universities because I want to interrogate the concept of openness in relation to public good. The 6 universities that I've chosen, it's Open University of Mauritius, Zimbabwe Open University, Open University of Tanzania, Nigeria, National Open University of Nigeria, Botswana Open University, and UNISA. UNISA is an open distance learning university. The openness in universities, they address the issue of the social justice mandate. They were created to widen participation. They were created to ensure that those people who are marginalized, who have never participated in higher education, can have access to education. And this, they do it in a cost-effective way in terms of making sure that the students can have access to education. The students can have access to resources, hence the open education resources. The students can have access to courses, hence the MOOC movement. So all these, they are addressing the economic justice that have excluded people, so many people in the past, to participate in higher education because of lack of money. The other issue of social justice, it deals with cultural justice. In our culture, as we know, many of the universities in Africa are based on the colonial higher education system. And not only the colonial higher education now, but the colonial higher education then in the 60s. And when the colonizers left, they left the higher education systems and structures and practices that we inherited, and we continued with those cultures. And as we continue with them, we took the curriculum as it was given to us. And many of the curriculum that was given to us was the one that perpetuate inequality. So the role of social justice is to address the inequalities that happened in the past. And the other one is the political justice. And this was very big post-colonial and post-apartheid in the case of South Africa, where in the process of being equitable in terms of accessing education, in terms of accessing higher education in particular, we used equality systems that do not really work very well when you deal with equitability. Equality means that we are all working from the same pace, whereas the truth of the matter is that we are not. Many of the people come from different levels. Many people do not have the necessary habitats that assist them to move forward, to move to the next stage. Hence, we need building blocks that will help people who have been excluded, who are marginalized, who live in other parts of the country that do not have certain things that makes them enable them to participate equitably in the society. Digital justice, I've added digital justice because I believe that many people were excluded from participating because they did not have the devices, they did not have the necessary technologies, they did not have the necessary connectivity, and in the process they couldn't participate, especially during COVID-19, that forced all of us to stay at home. And the only way that we could communicate with the world or with each other, with our neighbors, was having a cell phone or having something. All the devices, the technological devices, were made so much that we needed to have each one of us, each of them. We couldn't even communicate down the road. We had to have a cell phone to do that. We couldn't walk into each other's home as we used to. So COVID-19 redefined the ways the social life has been and is going to be. This also, it's what those principles, the social justice mandate principles, are the one that open education is based on. Flexibility is one of them. I will talk more about flexibility as we move along. Lifelong learning is another critical aspect that, again, COVID-19 brought it to the fore when there was a big need of reskilling, big need of skilling, big need of ensuring that people can now communicate with the digital devices that they have, can now use the digital devices in the workspaces. When we were all forced to stay at home, we were all forced to work from home, we were all forced to learn from home, we were all forced to do everything from home. Even going to a doctor was done on using these devices. Development is absolutely essential in our context. Without development, we are doomed. There is absolutely no way that we can do anything without development. Development is in every national development plan, has the development agenda in it. And higher education needs to look at those development agendas from the Sustainable Development Agenda, the 2030 Goal 4, and also from the development agenda of the countries that we live in. And therefore, it's critical that we have those. Cost effectiveness, it addresses economic justice principle. Student-centeredness is one of those that are very, very important as well, because as we teach in distance education and in online learning, we teach an individual student sitting at home, in an office, anyway. Now, flexibility. I'm going back to flexibility in practice, which is at the core of this particular thing that we are doing today. The core of the conference that all of us are attending. Now, when I looked at all these universities that I talked about, the 6 universities, open universities, I looked at them. I started by looking at the content of their mission statements. And the content of their mission statements referred to some of the open learning principles. They were right and good in saying them, and also flexibility was one of them. Only 50% of these universities referred to flexibility as one of their principles. And I went to those universities to look at the practice, whether the practice is flexible in a way that they claim flexibility as one of their mission statements. The mission of the university is really grounded, the intrinsic mission of the university is grounded on committing ourselves in providing and building capacity and expanding capacity, human capacity, to do the things that they need to do. Now, when we focus on space, as these universities usually do, that we are flexible because our students can study anywhere and any place and any time, they are neglecting one of the most critical factors, because dealing with space also refers back to the debate of classroom versus distance. It has always focused on space, whereas there are things that are needed to be in place in order for us to be flexible. Systems and structures need to be in place. Policies and strategies that support flexibility are very important. We cannot have systems, we cannot work with systems that were made for a closed system into an open system. There's completely disregard or even interest in using open education resources and MOOCs, let alone developing those from the developing context. Recognition of formal, non-formal, and informal learning. We teach as if we are in any other traditional university that only recognizes formal learning. And in our case, because we need to open up our spaces to so many people, lifelong learning is important. We need to open up and develop reskill and skill again. COVID brought that to us, that we need to do that. We need to accommodate the diverse needs of both students and employers. A student who is in prison, a student who is at home, any marginalized student, we need to enable access by using all this flexibility. Access without success, it's not an opportunity for any person who is living with disabilities, who is in prison, who is at work wanting to upgrade themselves. Now, it's very clear that mission and practice are not talking to each other. Mission is the reason why the university exists. And if something is in the mission, it means that the university is supposed to practice that. But if that is not done, it means there is some kind of disjuncture between the two. Since we are talking to people who are in leadership, it is important for us to begin. If we want these universities that I'm talking about to be flexible, they need to rethink their vision and mission. And they need to rethink it in relation to practice. Rethink it very closely. How does flexibility mean in this context? How does accessibility mean in this context? And as we are doing that, we are defining our role in relation to the education mandate that was given to us. We are actually trying to re-engineer ourselves as a truly open university within the context of Africa, which is developmental in nature, which addresses the social mandate that has been created by so many years of colonialism, apartheid in the case of South Africa. Even when we got those, we followed those things. And we need to come up with workable solution. As we repurpose it, it must deal with workable solutions. And as we are moving forward with that, it's also critical for us. It is also critical for us to envision the open university that we want. And by so doing, we need to start by identifying desirable features that are worth strengthening. There are so many things that are worth strengthening, and eliminate everything that doesn't need it. As we are identifying, we need to articulate assumptions about the future we want, the desirable future, so that we can be able to make current decisions to achieve that. There are quite a few things that were pointed out, both in literature, both in other studies that were done, that deals specifically with the desirable features that we need to address. Blended and online learning, that's the way to go. We cannot learn so much in a hurry, for that matter, to move everything into an online space, to move our education into an online space, and then go back again as if COVID meant nothing to all of us. The second one is about personalization and customization of learning. This is very, very critical. I see it as a future, and I see it as something that we need to rethink it and think it very, very closely. Personalization, in my view, it means that someone like myself who is working, who wants to have a new career, or who want to change a career, or who want to be reskilled in a certain field, in baking, for an example, I want to be able to go and with a basket and go into every service provider or a provider of education and look at the MOOC and OER and get and batches, those micro credential courses that I could take, and then take a few courses and put them together, go to UNISA and say to UNISA, this is my package, I want to be a baker. So UNISA looks at my package and give me a certificate for that. So I see that coming up as we move along. And hence, there are systems and structures that are needed to be in place to enable that kind of flexibility. We cannot achieve that without having that. Then there are digital technologies. There's no doubt. We need to use them. There should be an acceleration of the use of them. And all these can only be successful if the structures are right for them, if the systems are right for them. Addressing the social justice mandate, that I cannot even begin to undermine it. It's the most important part, especially in our context. Pooling of knowledge of technological resources, not only that knowledge, but also working together, private, public, government, working together in an education space to build the education system we want, so that that education system is able to address the world that we are working in, the world that we live in. In the continent, we have not been successful in doing this. In the continent, we have just gone in, focused on what is happening, all the work, the operational things of ensuring that education takes place without taking a step back and look at what we need and the type of education that we want for the future. Lifelong learning is absolutely important to develop new knowledge and skills, and this is needed by all of us. Whether you have a PhD or you have gone through any type of education, this lifelong learning, we all need it, because during COVID, we were reminded of not having the skills, the necessary skills that we need. All these need strong leadership. Strong leadership is crucial. Strong leadership need to be strategic, need to focus. Their job is to be strategic. Their job is to focus on where they want to take this university to. Their job is not to look at other things. There are people who are hired to ensure that things are happening, but things have to happen in a strategic manner. They need to be visionary. They need to see the university we aspire for. I think in our space, 2030 is too close. It's about 9 years from now, and many things have not been put in place that the Sustainable Development Goal 4 is requiring of us. However, the UNESCO, as I'm speaking to you, is busy with higher education in 2050. So we need to begin to think of higher education in 2050, learning from the mistakes, learning from things that we haven't done now that should be done in future. So I'm saying all this because it's only through flexibility that we will be able to allow and enable equitable access if our systems and structures and our strategies are flexible enough to accommodate people who we say we are attracting as open universities, who we say are our students as open university. The reality now, it's looking dire. We have not been able to achieve that. And therefore, looking at equality only will not address the equitable issues. We can't say all of you have gained metric and therefore you can all go into this particular program, and because we know that people are different, and not only that, the people have been excluded from participating in education because of the color of their skin, because of their gender, because of their sexual orientation, because of whether they are rural, others are township. All those things are the ones that do not enable a person to participate in a way that they need to participate in. Therefore, we need to be careful not to risk repeating the same problems we have had in the past. And this is really a warning. As we change, as we transform, we need to transform with the period that we are transforming into, not transform with where we are coming from. We need to learn of the things that we do not want to take with us in order for us to move forward. Things that did not work in the past, we need to take them forward. We need to have a gaze that enables us to move forward, a vision that enables us to move forward, so that once that vision is there, we can develop strategies. And it is during this time that strategies have to be developed in order to move us forward. Thank you so much, colleagues, for listening. Thank you, and hope you have a lovely, lovely day.